Walk into any high-end hotel or luxury cruise ship, and you will likely find a sprawling, immaculate dining display. The modern buffet is designed to feel like an experience of pure, unrestrained luxury. The word itself comes from France. Originally, a buffet wasn't a style of eating at all. It was the actual piece of furniture, a sideboard or serving counter where food and drinks were staged by staff before being brought to the table. By the 19th century, European luxury hospitality had adopted the term to describe the meal itself. It evolved into massive, self-service feasts designed to feed large gatherings efficiently. Today, we look at these massive spreads and see ultimate freedom. We decide exactly what to eat, how much to take, and in what order. But behind that illusion of infinite choice is a highly calculated, high-stakes operational balancing act. From a management perspective, this format is highly profitable. By letting guests serve themselves, restaurants drastically cut down on waitstaff labor. At the same time, table turnover speeds up significantly since nobody has to wait for a kitchen to fire their specific order. However, that profitability is fragile. If the pacing is off, you get rampant food waste from guests overfilling their plates. If the heating equipment fails, dishes go cold and dry out. And with dozens of people handling the same serving tongs, the risk of cross-contamination skyrockets. To actually capture the financial benefits, hospitality professionals can't just set out food and hope for the best. They have to design and run the buffet as a tightly engineered physical system. This logic tree maps out the 16 distinct types of buffets recognized in modern catering. Rather than treating them all the same, managers classify every setup across 3 core operational pillars: the mealtime, the temperature, and the service style. Looking at the temperature branch, a hot buffet requires specialized holding equipment. The standard tool is a bain-marie, a heated water bath that sits underneath the food pans to maintain a consistent, safe serving temperature without overcooking the meal. Over in the service style branch, we find a critical operational split. While most setups are completely self-service, luxury venues often deploy an assisted buffet. Here, staff physically serve the guests at the counter to enforce exact portion control on expensive items like carved meats or fresh seafood. Then there are specialized formats like the finger buffet. Built specifically for cocktail parties and standing receptions, every single item on the menu must be fully consumable without forks, knives, or even a place to sit. Accurately pinpointing which of these exact typologies you are hosting is the mandatory first step. That choice dictates what hardware you need to rent, how much staff to hire, and how the physical room must be arranged. Once the menu and style are locked in, the focus shifts to physical geometry. A buffet layout is explicitly drawn up to prevent bottlenecks and move a massive volume of hungry guests through a confined space without collisions. This map shows the universal sequence used across the industry. The linear flow always starts with plates, moves into salads and appetizers, progresses to the main courses and accompaniments, and finishes with desserts and beverages. The logic here is purely ergonomic. Guests cannot begin without a plate, so that sits at the absolute front. Beverages are heavy and prone to spilling, so they are pushed to the very end of the line or put on a separate table entirely, so guests don't have to balance a sloshing glass while using serving tongs. Layered directly over this spatial map are strict legal hygiene thresholds. Hot items must be staged in equipment capable of holding them above 63 degrees Celsius, while cold stations must continuously chill raw items below 5 degrees. Sticking rigidly to this sequential layout keeps the crowd moving in a single direction, prevents people from reaching back over dishes to grab forgotten items, and keeps hazardous food temperatures completely isolated. Even with the perfect physical layout, the system requires an active crew to keep it alive. Service staff execute their duties in a continuous 3-phase cycle: the pre-service setup, the live execution, and the post-service breakdown. During pre-service, chefs forecast the exact amount of food needed based on head counts. This preparation phase, known as mise en place, ensures all equipment is polished and ingredients are gathered, so the kitchen isn't scrambling once the doors open. Once the event begins, the golden rule of live service takes over: rapid replenishment. A buffet relies entirely on visual abundance, so staff must quietly cycle fresh, full trays onto the line before the active ones ever run completely empty. Finally, as the dining window closes, the crew breaks down the stations. Leftover food that stayed within safe temperature zones is carefully stored, while managers conduct a precise waste analysis, tracking exactly what was left uneaten so they can tighten the forecasting for the next event. These rapid, behind-the-scenes staff procedures are what drive the entire operation. They allow a venue to handle hundreds of orders simultaneously, capturing the labor savings of self-service while keeping the dining experience completely frictionless for the guest. Running an ideal buffet means hitting every operational mark at once. The visual presentation must be pristine, the thermal zones strictly maintained, the floor perfectly staffed, and the guests moving at a steady pace without waiting in long queues. This specific model is the financial backbone of large-scale hospitality worldwide. It is the only system scalable enough to feed thousands of people on a modern cruise liner or handle the synchronized lunch rush at a massive corporate conference. By mastering these spatial, thermal, and mechanical rules, the hospitality industry manages to do something remarkable. They bridge the gap between mass-scale catering and high-end luxury, turning a massive logistical challenge into a seamless, highly profitable feast.